Welcome back to the garden, everyone. We are now last day of 2025 when I'm filming, so it'll be early 2026 when this goes out. So it's kind of a last video of 2025, first video of 2026, but happy new year to everyone. We are going to be doing a very brief going around the garden, and I'm just going to tell you what I have plans for next year or this year, depending on when you watch it. So let's have a little look around the garden and go through some garden plans with you all. Look who has come to join me for today. It is Ori. Hello Ori, who's a good boy. Right, so Ori is demonstrating the first thing that is on the agenda, which is patio paving. So this was probably the best thing I did this year, was all of this along here, finally getting this area down here done, and this ramp. My goodness, I can't believe I waited so long to get a ramp installed. This is going to continue with this little bit of paving up here, which is going to become my barley pathway. Now, I think I mentioned this previously, but the general idea of this pathway is to narrow the paving, but it's not going to be reduced on the little step up that's here. This is going to stay like this, and at the moment I'm thinking it's probably going to be somewhere around here, or maybe this slab here, and then it will go to here, and then each side of the paving will be cobbles with a arch up and over, a couple of those along, and we'll be using the same sleepers that we've got down here, which are the same as the sleepers here around the Summerhouse. Now these are not oak, these are tropical hardwood. I think they're most likely something like a zobe, because when you cut into them they've got like a pinky orangey red hue to them, and they make oak look like pine. These things are incredibly heavy and incredibly dense, and they do not rot even in my wet clay soil. I've listed a couple of the oak ones that are over in the main part of the garden, and they've literally turned to mush, whereas these are absolutely rock solid, not going anywhere. These are used in European and I think North Africa for railway sleepers, and they just last and last, which is why they've obviously got these plates on, so you get a little bit of extra texture and things on them. So having done this before, I know that I need a chainsaw to cut these at any kind of speed, especially if I want to be doing, proper joinery, so cutting in to be able to join them together so that it's half and half, and then it joins all the way across, to give it some rigidity on the arches. So they are going to need chainsawing, and I have a friend coming over in a couple of days to give me some tips and pointers on how not to cut myself when using a chainsaw. And the second thing on my project list next year is basically going to be a continuation of this patio and the barley path, join it all together with this paving that's down here. Now both the pathway and this, which I'm going to be calling the tropical courtyard, is I don't want to have to lay the slabs. These were all loose because I took the joints out for about 4 or 5 years. Obviously moisture got in over winter, froze, expanded, blew them off the bedding. These are pretty much all okay. Obviously the mortar and stuff has come out of a lot of them, and then in some of them it's there, but it's just got a layer of muck over it. So I will be going through, obviously lifting, like say that, if that's what I end up going for there, lifting that, and then taking out all the mortar and jointing from these and repointing it all, and that's just what I will do over here. All of this area will have to be repointed, but none of it should be too loose that it needs to be relaid. There's a couple of bits which do need to be relayed, and that's just down here, but this is literally just a couple of bits, so that'll be me breaking up the bedding and then putting in fresh bedding and joining it all up with the mortar. And then that will obviously involve moving everything here including the boutia, which I don't know whether I was smart enough when I did it, but I think, yeah, it's probably on a joint, so that will have to be moved enough to be able to do some jointing at some point. But everything else will have to come out, which is not too much of a problem. Now, the tropical courtyard is going to basically be all pots, because obviously we've got the patio. I'm currently thinking some more shadier stuff along the back here where the Figesia is. So if we go over there, so as I say, over the back here, probably going to be looking at some hostas and shadier liking plants along here. And I will probably end up giving this a good cut back a bit, just so it doesn't come over quite so much, because it does start to take up a bit of the patio space. And I might even be getting to the point where it will actually need lifting and dividing again. That's taken a couple of years to get to that. We'll see. And the rest of it is going to be some more kind of specimen examples of, say, cannas or gingers or anything else I can find and get hold of that's a little bit more tropical than your normal standard stuff. And then obviously the booty will be staying in place. And then that leads me on to the next port of call, which is the main bed in the garden here that's viewable from the kitchen. Now, I've never been fully happy with the Yucca Gloriosa Variegata. I bought them with some plans for them when I first started doing the garden, and I literally chucked them in here while I figured out what I was going to do with them. And as I've said over the last year or so, this one has basically rotted entirely. It's probably starting to root into the ground now. I've got a few pups. They need a good tidy up. I'm thinking these are probably going to be pulled out, and then I'm going to put something a little bit more tropical rather than spiky and arid in this section. Obviously they do give great variation to the cannas and everything else that's in here, so I'm thinking of either a decent sized tree fern, just a standard Dixonia with like a 4-foot trunk or something like that, or another boutia or jubea, something like that. But the canna is going to have to be taken back a little bit, just because it is starting to really kind of expand out again. We are still getting new shoots, and we're at the end of December. Last night was a very cold night, did definitely drop below freezing, and tonight is meant to be about -3 or 4, so a really cold spell. So that will probably see the rest of these leaves blackened off. The fuchsia will probably get pruned down a little bit again, but I'm not going to be lifting that or moving anything else in here. So it's just going to be tree fern or feather palm of some kind, and then some more tropical foliage plants. Probably not more cannas, maybe some gingers or something like that again. Okay, and then for the next project we are back to the summer house. So this patio is obviously in heavy shade for most of the summer, and even in the winter here when everything's died back, the sun's low enough that we don't really get much in the way of direct sun. So I need to think how I want to have this, and what I'm planning on doing is continuing the patio stuff. On a roll, do what I can do. This patio needs a little bit of love and care. It's all pretty much secure. I think there might be 1 or 2 slabs around the edges that are a little bit loose, but it's not a heavy trafficked area, so this is really going to be just a break out the old mortar and then put fresh in, and then obviously the Celerii will have to be taken off, and that will just regrow back over the next kind of year or so again. And the idea for this is going to be a shady patio entirely, so we're going to go with the collection of ferns I've already got, and then I'm going to get some more kind of unusual ferns that you don't see so often. And then around the side here is the power socket. It's underneath where obviously the gunner is back there. There's a power socket down there which runs the pump for the pond. That's all rotting away and needs repairing, so that will get repaired, and we'll run the power cable for the pond pump and a UV filter. The eucalyptus is going to need a prune again in spring, just these main couple of leaders, just to stop it from getting too big, because the loquat has really enjoyed the extra light that it's been getting. Everything else in here is probably just going to be staying as it is, and my Woodwardia unigumata is being sheltered quite nicely by the eucalyptus at the moment, and is doing quite well. And then through here, not really going to change much. I'm going to have to dig around the black bamboo just to take out any runners that are going a little bit too far, and then I want to find something that I can run up this for the next year or so, whether that's just an annual that I grow from seed or something. The black bamboo that's here is starting to slowly bed itself in, but I don't think I want more black bamboo. I'm not too sure. Obviously I've got the piece each side, which I do like the symmetry of, but I've got several clumps of black bamboo. Do I really need more? I'm not too sure I do. So I'm thinking that this might be taken out, and if I go slightly over the bridge and show you the spot, I'm thinking this might be, because this needs a big prune, that'll be one of the jobs I need to get up my ladder and do, and the conifer gets cut back. This might be a nice spot. I really want to get a laburnum. A laburnum has been on my list of plants I would like to get for a very long time, so that might be something that I end up putting in here. Final thing that's another big job that I definitely need to want to be getting on with is the pond. It's getting a little bit neglected over this last year. This bridge started falling apart from rot during this year, so this is going to get rebuilt. The concrete plinths that are down here, they're all good, and this end is all good, the middle's all good. It's just that end needs to be redone, and I'll have to have a look at why it's rotting. But it might be that I think my low spot is here. It might be that there's a low spot here and there, and the water was spilling into there and just rotting it away. They were pressure treated pieces of the wood, and the top is just scaffold boards. So there's nothing, super sturdy or anything there. But even these round posts on the other side started to rot. So I'm going to redo this. Obviously fix the low spot down here, so probably end up having to drain a lot of the pond and basically pull up everything from the right hand side of the pond up, and then make sure that it's not got a low dip anywhere, because this is the height that the pond is naturally sitting at, and it should be good 2 to 3 inches higher at least. And obviously I also need to vacuum out the pond to get rid of all of the leaves, because that is a lot of Schefferella leaves in there. So that will obviously involve doing a lot of work down this end. I don't really have many plans for planting this end really again this year. It's just going to be a chuck some bits in and just let them get on with it, just because this is going to be quite a big job. The other thing will be, obviously, once the power supply is a bit more secured again, I've got the pond pump there. That needs to be reconnected, as does the UV that I bought this year, to help with the blanket weed. Obviously the oxygenator that's in there needs another good clear out, and then the top waterfall spill pond needs to be redone, because I think the soil that was underneath it when I banked it up compacted down with the weight of the rocks and the stones over about 2 or 3 years, and has got some low spots and just doesn't quite work how it did when I first built it. So that needs to be redone, and I'm thinking, because obviously there's the pump down over there and it goes up to this, so it just goes around in a circle like that. There's no water flow down this end, so I'm wondering whether I get another pump down here underneath the bridge that will pump up into the spill pond, and I'll have the 2 pumps going into the spill pond to circulate more of the water, and as long as one of them's on a UV, that should help keep most of the blanket weed clear. Okay, we'll quickly walk around the rest of the garden because there isn't too much more to do here. This is basically just going to be continuing with what I've got. The cannas have all done well, everything's kind of grown in the rabbits have been at the roots of everything again. So obviously we'll try and sort out the rabbits that are down there, but the rest of this is basically just going to continue as is. I'm looking at dividing this and getting some more of this through here and just growing some more squashes. Nice and simple. And this raised bed here is going to be much the same as it was this last year. Everything's just growing in, leaving the gingers in to start establishing themselves, so hopefully we'll get some flowers one spring, and just growing more squashes through here. Okay, and as we come down this way, we see the lovely mahonies are out in flower now. This bed is basically just going to get tidied up and mulched, and then I'll probably just stick some more annual bits through here. All of the daffodils are starting to grow up, so I'm once again behind schedule and won't be able to chuck down more wood chip, so I'll have to wait till they've all finished so I don't squash them as I do it all. And then down here, this curved section is going to just continue with what's in there, and then we'll probably just chuck in some more of the fruit and veg stuff down here. And then this bed, I've got some ground cover to go in here, and we're just going to try and move some of the bits about just to get it just how I wanted. And then obviously I need to still cut all the hedging and everything. And as you can see, it's coming up towards 3:30 now. We've still got frost. That's getting very cold. The rest of this is literally just going to be tidied up. I don't really have too many plans for this year. There's already enough to do. And then as we go down to the sea of the sun, there's just a few bits to do down here, and I'll probably just bung some cheap and cheerful bits in down here. So that's a general roundup of plans for 2026. Hopefully I will see you all then, and we will get started in the new year.